I'm going to go over the Estrid Damask uh, Planeswalker Commander deck for 2018. This deck is the so-called enchantments deck, and I think I'm going to discuss in detail every single one of her abilities. So to start with, it's a 4-drop commander that comes in with 3 loyalty, and it can do a +2. So it can be a 5 loyalty commander once it comes in. It does not drop a token or tokens to protect itself, and so you have to do something about it so it doesn't get whacked the moment it comes in. The +2, untap each enchanted permanent you control. If it's an enchanted creature, you can benefit if the creature has a tapping ability, or you can use it to block, effectively works as vigilance. If it's an enchanted land, which I think is even more interesting, then you untap it, get more mana, and you get more mana in that same turn. The -1 is very interesting. Create a white aura enchantment token named Mask attached to another target permanent. The token has enchant permanent and totem armor. I looked up in the MTG wiki what totem armor means. If a permanent enchanted by an aura with totem armor will be destroyed, the aura is destroyed instead. If that permanent is a creature, all damage is removed from that creature. Of course, another target permanent means you can't use it on your commander. That's fine. And that permanent better be really special. Even though it's only a -1 cost, it's something that you really want to protect. Then the what we call the ultimate, which sometimes is not necessarily the ultimate, put the top 7 cards of your library into your graveyard. Return all non-aura enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then do the same for aura cards. Yeah, that's fine. You'd probably be dropping 3 lands. I should have said it's going to be probably 3 lands and 4 non-lands. I messed that up. So if you have 20 enchantments, enchantment auras, probably get 2 of them on each drop. The drop adds a little, but you should be doing a lot to get as many enchantments out of it as possible. To me right now, it does not feel like a really game-changing ultimate. But again, we read these cards very early on, and sometimes it's really hard to tell how it really plays until you actually play it. The other commanders that come with the deck, I really like Kestia. Goes great with Theros. I'm a huge fan of Theros, even though it's a very underpowered block. It's got a high besto cost at 6, and it's a 4/4/4. And when you do the besto, it enchants for +4/+4. Whenever an enchanted creature or enchantment creature you control attacks, draw a card. That's just really good. That is really good. As a commander to attack by itself, Kestia is fairly lame. You know, it's very weak. But the draw a card trick, it just sits there, and as long as you can figure ways to protect Kestia, it can draw you a lot of cards. And I definitely would love to take this card and just build it completely around Theros block. Then Tuvasa, it's a merfolk. Could it be a commander for a merfolk tribal? There aren't any that I know of white merfolk, but there's definitely blue and merfolk, and even blue, green, and green coming in from Ixalan block. It does come in early. Then whenever you cast your first enchantment spell each turn, draw a card. That's fantastic. I mean, you're drawing 2 cards every turn. You're in an enchantment deck. You're going to be playing, hopefully, 1 enchantment at least every other turn. Then the other commanders, these are reprints. I'm just mentioning them here because they're in the deck. Is Bruna. It's really more of an aura theme, but then it can also fit something that has auras and enchantments or auras and equipments, and there are lots of cards in Magic that are for those, that are either auras and enchantments or auras and equipment. And for example, Stram is an auras and equipment kind of card. I hadn't really thought about it, but now that Bruna is being reprinted, it's always been there. It was originally printed and now it's been restored. Um, it's kind of cool. It'd be kind of interesting to build a white-blue deck that was auras and equipment. It's one of those little projects that somebody can do. I draw a question mark when I think of Daxos. I played him when he was in Theros, and I just didn't find him to be terribly useful. Okay, so it cannot be blocked by creatures with power 3 or less. It's only a 2/2. Okay, so when you deal combat damage to a player, which is going to be... It's not going to happen that often, in my opinion. Exile the top card of that player's library. You gain life equal to that card's CMC converted mana cost. Until end of turn, you may cast that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that card. That's pretty good, but it's in the low casting range. The dude does not fly, doesn't have any special abilities besides the it cannot be blocked by medium to small critters. I draw a question mark when I think of this card in this deck, and I'm not really looking forward or planning to build a deck around him. I'm just saying. So the new cards, Estrid's Invocation, a 3-drop enchantment, so 3 of them, of these new cards, and yeah, that's 4, 5. So 5 of the new cards are enchantments. Makes sense, it's an enchantment deck. So 3-drop, you may have this card enter the battlefield as a copy of any enchantment you control, except it gains. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile this enchantment. If you do, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. It's a way to protect it. I guess that's what it does. It protects itself. But one thing that I learned by playing around with the card copy enchantment, which I believe is in Ravnica 1, Ravnica City of Guild block, you have to have an enchantment to be able to copy it. Now, this is an enchantment deck, so that's good. But, you know, that's a weakness of that type of card, that you gotta already have an enchantment that you control. Just saying. Ever watching Threshold? It's a 3-drop. Whenever an opponent attacks you or a planeswalker you control with 1 or more creatures, draw a card. That's going to happen a lot. I mean, people attack with more than 1 creature most of the time, I would say. You're on enchantments, your creatures are probably not going to be the best. So you're going to be attacked a lot. Yeah, and so you draw a card. I like it. I think it's pretty good. In an enchantment deck, it's fantastic. The Drake flies and it's a 3/2 with Lieutenant. And the you control, your commander thing is you draw a card. That's great. Myth Unbound, 3-drop enchantment. Your commander costs 1 less to cast for each time it's been cast from the command zone this game. Okay, so you've cast it 3 times. Estrid is a 4-drop, did we say she was? Yeah, she's a 4-drop. So if she's a 4-drop, if you've cast it twice, she's a 4, then a 6, then an 8. So it'll cost 1 less to cast for each time it's been cast. It'll cost 3 less. Yeah. That's nice. Whenever your commander is put into the command zone from anywhere, draw a card. I think that's really good. And it can apply to any commander. It just so happens to be an enchantment in an enchantment deck. But let's think about Myth Unbound in pretty much any commander deck there is. So it fits in any green commander deck there is. It's just a green enchantment, period. And it'll draw you a card whenever your commander is put into the command zone from anywhere. And it'll really slow down your costs as you're forced to cast your commander multiple times. That reads like an all-star in my opinion. The Slime is a 3/1/1. It cannot be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. That's good. If a creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile it and put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to that creature's power on this line. Yeah, that's going to happen a lot in a commander game with 3 other people. Somebody's going to have creatures, and some of them are going to die. So this thing can become pretty big. And there's no limitation as to when it cannot be blocked. So even if it became a +9/+9, it would still not be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. That's good. Then I forgot about Arixmethes as a commander. I should have put Arixmethes in the group of commanders, because I like to separate the commanders, because I'm thinking, okay, can this deck be broken up and be turned into other commander decks? So let's just go with that. And it's a 4/12/12. It enters the battlefield tapped with 5 slumber counters on it. As long as it's got a slumber counter on it, it's a land. So you're going to have to cast how many spells? 5 spells for it not to be a land, and it becomes a 12/12. So 5 plus 4, 5 spells. Well, those 5 spells are not going to be all 1-drops. So you're going to be casting 5 spells. Yeah, and if they average like 10 mana each, I mean altogether, yeah, that's about a 12/12 critter, but it's pretty big. It doesn't have any flying or vigilance or haste or, you know, any of the other great abilities that any critter could have. And you can tap it to add green and blue when it's a land. So basically, it enters tapped. It gets untapped during your untap step. So it's basically an enters the battlefield tapped land for blue-green for a few turns, costing you 4. And then at some point it becomes a gigantic critter. If it's going to be your commander, no, it will not be it cannot be your commander as long as it's a land. So this, I'm glad I put it where I put it. I don't think this card can be a commander. Very interesting card. That's why I'm spending so much time talking about it. Sorry, I'm drinking a little water because this is the last one of the 4 marathon discussions for the Commander 2018 decks. The Unicorn is in other decks. It's got Lieutenant. It's 4/3/4. Other Commander 18 decks. And then it prevents all combat damage. So it's kind of like a fog thing. And other creatures you control gain vigilance until end of turn. That's nice. It's a creature, so you cast it. And for as long as you control your commander, it'll really stall the daylights out of your opponents trying to deal you combat damage. That's good. The Guardian, I already discussed him because he is in the Lord Windgrace deck as well. It's a solid 5/4/4 Trampler, and you put a +1/+1 counter at the beginning of combat every time that you control your commander. That's pretty good. If you get this to happen only once, you already have a 5/5/5 Trampler. That's already great. The Umbra is a 5-drop enchantment aura and enchanted creature. The enchanted creature is an 8/8 and has, whenever this creature attacks, you may tap target creature with power 8 or less. And it's got totem armor, which means if enchanted creature will be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. That's pretty good. It's a 5-drop. Makes it an 8/8. That is, it turns it into an 8/8. And it taps an opponent creature when it attacks. Yeah, that's pretty good. It doesn't give it anything. It's just an flat 8/8. Doesn't have flying. Doesn't give it any evasion whatsoever. But still, it's going to be a big critter. It's an 8/8. Nothing to laugh at. Then I think this must be part of the storm cycle in this product. Genesis Storm is a 6-drop sorcery. When you cast it, copy it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this turn. So another one of those. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land permanent card. You may put that card onto the battlefield. Okay, so non-land permanent. Yeah, reveal cards until you reveal a non-land permanent. It's going to happen quickly. Say it's an enchantment. You're in an enchantment deck. And you may put it onto the battlefield. And you're not sending the other cards to the graveyard. You recover them by putting them into your library. Hopefully you have a shuffle effect somewhere. And if not, I put it in this deck just to make sure that if the other cards are pretty good too, they wouldn't be at the bottom of my deck. Yeah, you put that card onto the battlefield. You don't pay the casting cost. It's a 6-drop sorcery, but that's nice. That's nice. And you're going to copy it each time you cast your commander from the command zone. And you're casting it for 6. So maybe you already cast your commander twice. Okay? So yeah, you're going to copy it. Yeah, that's great. Then the other storm, the white one, is a 6-drop sorcery. When you cast it, copy it for each time you've cast your commander from your command zone this game. That can be many times, but it can be at least as 2. I mean, 2 would be normal. And then you're going to create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. For each one of the, basically, I mean, it could have read, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. That's +1. Yeah, +1, because you cast it. If you have not cast your commander from the command zone, you still get to cast it. So it's really M+1. Okay. The Blade Master is a 6/3/6 flyer with double strike. And when it enters the battlefield, you may attach any number of auras and equipment you control to it. That's pretty good. Auras and equipment. Okay, so it's not like auras. Yeah, it's auras and equipment. Okay, fine, that's great. Other creatures you control get +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to Heavenly Blade Master. That can get sick. I mean, it's a 6-drop, you're in commander, but that can get pretty sick. Especially if you change this deck to have more auras and more equipment. Or you create, or you go back to where we said that you could possibly make a Bruna deck. Okay, and then Bruna would be your commander for that deck, and Heavenly Blade Master would be in that deck, and then you can get all those other auras and equipment, good stuff from all of Magic that fits into commander. Nylea's Colossus is a new enchantment creature, very much in the theme of Theros. 7/6/6 with Constellation, which is an ability from Theros block. Whenever this card or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, double target creature's power and toughness until end of turn. Solid. This card itself is not great in the sense that if you take that out, it's a 7/6/6 vanilla. It doesn't have anything else. But that's a pretty good ability because you're going to double something else, some other critter. Okay, then new card helpers. I think I made a mistake here. I meant to say new cards. These are not new card helpers. These are cards in this deck. Sorry about that. So the Archetype of Imagination is a reprint from Theros, I believe. I could be wrong. Creatures you control have flying. That's great. Creatures your opponent control lose flying and can have or gain flying. If I am correct that this was in Theros, there was a cycle of this type in Theros. And each color had something that, and I believe the white one was First Strike, and I'm sure the green one had Trample, I think, where it said, you know, creatures you control have this ability that belongs to this color, and then creatures your opponents control lose this ability, whatever it is, and can't have it or gain it. That's good. I used the white one that I had first strike a lot, and it was a 1 white, I believe, so it was very aggressive, very low in the curve. So Hydra Omnivore is a 688, and whenever it deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. Oh, that's good. So if it deals, it doesn't have trample, so if it deals combat damage to an opponent, it'll most likely deal all 8 damage. So it'll deal that much damage to each other opponent. That's pretty good. I'd love to see it in play. Yeah. The Sentinel is a 746 flyer, and whenever it attacks, you may save an enchantment from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it reanimates an enchantment. That's pretty good. It's an enchantment of your choice, and then you're gonna pick your very best enchantment that happens to be in your graveyard and put it back in the battlefield. It can be an enchantment creature. Okay, you would bring the card in as an enchantment, but it can be an enchantment creature. It can be archetype of imagination, so it's actually better in a deck with a lot of enchantment creatures. Then we're getting down to the reprint creatures. Herald of the Pantheon is from Origins, and it's great. Enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you gain 1 life. It's a great card. The gain 1 life part would have been much better, say, in a white-green enchantment deck with something like Ajani's Primate. Here, I don't see what you're going to get from that, but the first clause you're definitely going to get a lot from. Then the Gnarlid is a 3/2/2, and it cannot be blocked by creatures with power less than it, and it gets +1/+1 for each aura on the battlefield, not on it. That's pretty good. The Boon Satyr is great because it got flash, and then with Besto it gives something +4/+2, so it becomes an enchantment when you cast it for Besto. And then if the creature it's enchanting dies, then it becomes a creature, which is very useful. The Coldite Selkie is a 3-drop 1/1 with Island Walk, which means that if your opponent controls an island, it's unblockable. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw that many cards. So you're going to want to put an enchantment aura on Cold-Eyed Selkie ASAP. Okay, I mean, think about it. If you can put Boon Satyr on it, it'll be a 5/3. It'll hit for 5, and you will be able to draw. You may draw 5 cards. That's fairly significant. And you're gonna pick somebody. Okay, you're gonna try to pick somebody who controls an island, and then it cannot be blocked. That's great. That is a great combo in my opinion in this deck. Reclamation Sage belongs in every commander deck that runs screen, basically, because it's got a natural light staple to it, and somebody's going to have an artifact or enchantment you want to take out. So yeah, that's a no-brainer. The Enchantress is great. Gets +1/+1 for each enchantment on the battlefield. I'm sure it can get absurdly big. So that's wonderful. Even though it's got nothing else, it'll be a big critter for 3. And that's good. Then Ajani's Chosen is a 4/3/3, and it'll generate 2/2 white cat creature tokens every time you drop an enchantment. And if it's an aura, you may attach it to the token that it's created, that 2/2. That's fantastic. Eidolon of Blossoms, I think, is one of the best critters out of Theros, and I'm gonna say it's one of my favorite creatures in all of Magic, I would say, because it just draws so much. It's just a great draw engine. So when it enters by itself, because it's an enchantment as well as a creature, it already brings you a card. You already draw that card. Then every time you cast an enchantment, you keep drawing cards. That's great. The Archon, is it Archon or Archon? I'm going to call it Archon. This was one of the better enchantment creatures, but not the best, in my opinion, out of Theros. And I feel the same way about Whitewater Naiads. Uh, Not Whitewater Nads. Uh, they're both good. They're playable. I think there are better enchantment creatures in Theros block. Not that many, but there are. I think if I was to switch in and out, things in and out of this deck, these two cards, the Naiads and the Archon, would go immediately. Those would be some of the first cards that I would switch out, and I would put in, because we're in Bant, I would probably put in the blue-green God from Theros, because it's going to give me a ton of mana, because the mana pool is not empty. And I would probably put in the white-green Karamitra, because it's going to draw me a ton of lands. I would not put in the white-blue one, which is a dud. Afara, not a good card in my opinion. So, okay, anyways, the Scion is a 5/4/4 with Trample and Lifelink. And spells you cast that target this cost 2 less to cast. That would be something like an enchantment creature with Besto. So you got it right there. The Archon wouldn't cost 7, would cost 5 to enchant, and it give it +4/+4 and flying and first strike. Wow, that would be a pretty good move. Maybe the Archon would stay and I get rid of the Naiads. I don't know, and then only put the green-blue God as a replacement. Not sure. Okay, there aren't that many spells in this deck because this deck is an enchantment deck. So let's go through the spells. So for X, white, create a bunch of soldier tokens. X is 5 or more, destroy all other creatures. That's fantastic. Bant Charm, yeah, sure, you're in Bant, why not? Choices, only one. You can get rid of an artifact. You can put target creature on the bottom of its owner's library, so you're kind of like not killing it, but it's even better than putting it in the graveyard. It's say your opponent has a reanimation target deck, or you can counter target instant spell. Yeah, that's good. That's a 1-drop card. I forget the name in blue. Counter target instant spell. Okay. Then Dismantling Blow is a 3-drop instant with kicker and 2 blue. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, and then if you pay the divination cost, and in a previous video I said pacifism, I meant divination, of course. Yeah, so you get a divination out of it. It's got a divination stapled on it as kicker. Kicker is fantastic. It's always going to be popular because it gives you options. Then the Insight, reveal top 6 cards and put up to 3 enchantment cards from among them into your hand and the rest of the cards into your graveyard. That's great. For 3 mana, yeah, I'll take it. In an enchantment deck, why not? Additional spells, and I'm including Soul Ring, Creeping Renaissance, 5-drop, sorcery, pick a permanent type, enchantment of course, return all cards of the chosen type from your graveyard to your hand. This goes in the graveyard for 7, you get to do it again. Nice, very nice. Got a little board wipe here, Winds of Wrath. Destroy all creatures that aren't enchanted and they can be regenerated. You're going to want to have all your creatures be enchanted and the other people's, hopefully they won't be. Then Phyrexian Rebirth, destroy all creatures, then create an XX colorless horror artifact creature token, where X is the number of creatures destroyed this way. That's pretty good if you're really behind or after you've gotten board wiped, because you probably don't want to be taking out your creatures. Soul Ring, Soul Ring, Soul Ring, yeah. Okay, so now we're going to go through what really this deck is all about, okay? It's got a bunch of enchantments, just a lot of enchantments, right? So, and I'm gonna end the video when I'm finished talking about the enchantments. Okay, so let's go through them, and they're ordered by mana. So, Soul Snare, 1-drop enchantment. Play it, and then you play one white mana. You sack it. You exile target creature that's attacking you or a planeswalker you control. So it's kind of like a path to exile at cost 2, without any downside. And that's great, I mean, because you're not giving anybody a land or what is it, life, which you give through source through plowshares. Wild growth, enchanted land. When it's tapped, you add an additional green. That's good. The Umbra. I think there's an Umbra cycle in here. I could be wrong. 2-drop. It's got flash. Enchant creature gets +1/+1 with totem armor. So you protect the creature because then you're willing to give up the aura. That's fine. I think there are better enchant creatures in the game. I would probably substitute it out if I was upgrading the deck. Just saying. Fertile Ground. Whenever a land is enchanted land is untapped, is tapped for mana, you add an additional mana of any color for 2. I thought there are better ones as 1-drops. Yeah. So I would probably substitute that one out as well. Ground Seal. When it enters, draw a card. Cards in graveyards can't be the target of spell or abilities. So it's kind of like a Grafdigger's Cage, in a way. So it helps against any reanimation deck. The Dictate I am not a fan of in this deck at all, because it's a group hug card. It fits way better when you're milling somebody. I know you can play it in such a way where you minimize how much your opponents draw depending on how you drop it in the turn. It's all wonderful. I'm not a fan. Incredibly enough, it's right next to the opposite card, Enchantress Presence, which is, I don't know if it's the most valuable card in the deck or one of the. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you draw a card for 3, and it's an enchantment. A fantastic card. I love the Dictate, but not in this deck. Overgrowth, 3-drop, enchant land. When it's tapped, you add green. Yeah, so it allows you to ramp for green, and you already have Wild Growth that does that as well. Snake Umbra, so yeah, there is an Umbra cycle. I seem to remember. I'm sure they come from whatever, I think probably Lorwyn that had totem armor. Okay, so 3-drop enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has, whenever this creature deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. That's good. Just put it on something really menacing or that's unblockable, something like that. Unflinching Courage was really good. I believe it was in Return to Ravnica block. May have even been in the Return to Ravnica set. Creature gets +2/+2, trample, lifelink for 3. Fantastic. Unquestioned Authority, 3-drop, enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted creature has protection from creatures. Which, yeah, that's good. That is good. Yeah, that is good. Vow of Flight, 3-drop, enchant creature. Gets +2/+2, flying. Cannot attack you or a planeswalker you control. Very interesting. Very interesting. Would you ever drop this on one of your opponent's creatures? I gotta think about this one. This is a second pass. Gotta think about it later card. Vow of Wildness, 3-drop, enchant creature, gets +3/+3, trample, and cannot attack you or a planeswalker you control. So yet another one that's making me think. How would I use this card? Would I only use it on one of my creatures? I don't know. I think, would I put it on somebody else's creature? Okay, I'll keep thinking about it. Umbra, Bear Umbra, the green one from the Umbra cycle. Totem armor, as we've been saying. So enchanted creature has +2/+2. It has, whenever it attacks, untap all lands you control. That's great. And actually, if you upgrade this deck with the, what was it, Crufix from the green-blue, your mana pool doesn't empty, God from Theros, then you would untap your lands and pump the daylights out of your mana base, out of your mana pool. Yeah. Dawn's Reflection, 4-drop, enchant land, not creature. When it's tapped for mana, you add an additional 2 mana of any combination of colors. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's very good. Sage's Reverie, which I love. I played this card a lot when it was in Standard. Enchant a creature. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. So you gotta pick one of your creatures and make sure you got a bunch of auras on that creature. Okay? To a creature, it's not to the creature this was attached to. And then the enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. Yeah, it's a fantastic card. I love it. Finest Hour, 5-drop, Exalted. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap it. And after this phase, there's an additional combat phase, not just for that creature. Now, it's got Exalted. So, you're going to want it to attack alone. That's a limitation. Okay? It'd be great if it didn't have that limitation, because then you would create an additional combat phase for all your creatures. But that's not the case. It's got Exalted. You're only going to put it, you're only going to play this trick on one creature. So it's a creature you control that attacks alone. So it's going to be your best critter. But it's fine. It's pretty good. Righteous Authority was a junk rare in Return to Ravnica block. I would take it out of this deck immediately if I bought it and I wanted to upgrade it, but I'm going to read it anyways. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each card in its controller's hand. Yeah, that's why it sucks. At the beginning of the draw step of Enchanted Creature's controller, that player draws an additional card. No. I would not. I would take this card out immediately. That's just my call. Sigil of the Empty Throne is fantastic. Love it. I've built decks around it before. It's only a 5-drop, so in Commander it's really, really good. And whenever you cast an enchantment, you get a 4/4 White Angel creature token with flying. It's great. It's in my opinion, it's one of the best cards in the deck. I just pulled one, incidentally. It's in the channel, I think. Epic Proportions. Enchant creature with flash. 6-drop. Gets +5/+5 and trample. That's good. Good in Commander, definitely. Spawning Grounds. 8-drop. Enchant land. And it's got, you tap the land and you create a 5/5 green beast creature token with trample. Nice late game. You've ramped a lot. I don't see how often you're going to be able to play such a trick, because you're already playing 8 mana for it, paying 8 mana for it. But it's a Johnny card, or maybe even a Timmy card. It's a Timmy card. Yeah, I'd probably take it out for something better. And I'm done. Thank you all. That's the end of my review. And as a summary for the 4 decks, I would say, because I love artifacts, the Zed deck, Saheeli, is looking great. The Aminatu deck I like because I like the Esper zombie commander in that deck, so I would take that card out immediately and build an Esper zombies deck. But I also like the Aminatu deck as well. Aminatu is very creative, makes me think, and I would love to play it. I really like that one too. So it's kind of interesting. I thought originally Enchantments deck would be number 1, Saheeli would be number 2, maybe Windgrace would be number 3, and then the Esper deck would be number 4. Right now, after having spent almost 4 hours looking through all the cards and all 4 decks, I'm going to say my number 1 is Saheeli, my number 2 is Aminatu, my number 3 is Windgrace, and my 4 is this enchantment deck, which is weird. I would have never thought I would say that, but it's kind of funny. So the way that I went through the decks is actually my ranking. Thank you. Have fun.